Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Civivi Sentinel Strike. It has this wraparound backspacer, which, to me puts it in the same family as like the Wii Ziphius and the one I always forget the name of, the Wii Exiton, or at least that's how I'm going to pronounce it. These are two of my favorite Wii knives that exist. I love the designs. I love that wraparound backspacer. These guys have carbon fiber. This is a far less expensive version of it. So if you've ever looked at the Ziphius or the Exiton, or the Exciton, whatever, and you thought, those are neat, I don't know if I want to spend $300 on a pocket knife, this guy is substantially less expensive. This is available right now, so I'll link it down in the description. You can check it out if you want. It does help my channel when you use those links before you buy something, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. And thank you to Civivi for supplying this knife for review. I'll also link the two more expensive guys up here, but just so we can get a quick size comparison, because this is a larger knife than I think some people realize. I'm going to go ahead and put these two away so that I don't accidentally cut myself during the review. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against some more recognizable knives. The Ontario Rat Model 1. I'm not sure what sentence I was starting there. And the Ontario Rat Model 2. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? And the Spyderco Para 3. So yeah, I mean, if you're like me, the pictures of this kind of fooled me. Nowadays I'm too lazy to go look at the specs. So when I saw this thing, I was like, oh, they made a Civivi version, it's just going to be smaller. No, it's actually huge. You know what would be really helpful in determining the size of this thing would be if I measured it like I usually do first. So let's go ahead and do that. Overall length is 8.5 inches. Can you believe that? 3.75 inches of blade. Yeah, wow. And 3.25 inches of cutting edge because of a very roomy forward choil. Let's go ahead and continue here with a couple more size comparisons up against the Ontario, Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Oak, and the Benchmade Bug-Out. You'd think as many times as I've said that I would get it right. No, still screwing it up. How's the action? It's very good. It's exactly what you'd expect. It's a button lock flipper, so you get that distinct feeling of the plunge lock acting as the detent versus a detent ball. And it works. It's very satisfying to use that slot to reverse flick it. You can also use the slot to thumb flick it. You can use the thumb studs to flick it. I don't know that this knife needed all of these different deployment methods, but it has them, and none of them are really hindering the other one. I mean, they've got this all tuned to where everything works the way that you would want it to, right? Whatever your preference is, you can use the one you like and you can ignore the rest. The thumb stud is not in the cutting path. The obviously the hole is not going to stop you from cutting anything. So I really don't have a problem with that. I enjoy the fidget factor of this guy. I think the thumb studs could have been a little wider. They're kind of small, so if you keep using them over and over again, right, if you're sitting around flipping it while you're watching knife reviews like this one, it might get a little annoying, but using it like a regular pocket knife, flicking it out and using it, it's not going to bother you. So yeah, the action's fine. I think it'll just get smoother with time. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's a hair thinner, just a hair. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This guy, again, is bigger than you would expect, but it's still shorter than the PM2. It's also not quite as tall, but it is approaching. It's taller than you might expect. Definitely a little bit bigger than the Spyderco Para 3. But, again, not a huge knife and not really all that heavy. What are we looking at for materials? Aluminum, and then this is some sort of injection mold plastic. I really was hoping that was going to be G10, but this is some sort of injection mold plastic. Not that big of a deal. And then we have K110. Yes, fancy K110. What is this? It's D2. It's D2 made by Bowler. Is it better? No, it's the same composition, I think, almost exactly. It's just more expensive, the way that I understand it. Confusing choice. K110 is fine, and so is D2, but I'm wondering if they added a little bit of unnecessary cost. Functionally, I think people will enjoy it. It's not quite a stainless steel. I think people often throw D2 in with like M4. No, D2 has 12% chromium, which is just 2%. I mean, I know it's the relationship with chromium and carbon that determines whether or not a composition is stainless, but the carbon content in D2, which is evading me, and the combination of the 12% chromium make it close to a stainless composition, but not quite. Outside of that, has really good edge retention, especially in this territory. That is reasonably tough, right? I think we're all pretty familiar with D2, but if you're not, there you go. K10 is going to be about the same. It's just D2 that's made by Bowler. Let's go ahead and weigh it. So again, aluminum, injectional plastic, and some K110. 3.49 ounces, which is pretty good considering you're getting a 3.75 inch blade or 3.25 inches of cutting edge. That's actually excellent. Really happy with that. Let's go ahead and get out my tools and do a hardware check. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. This is a T8. It's just very hard to see. The pivot, as is the case with every Civivi I have ever handled, is a T8. Curiously, they were like, you know what? Let's do T6 for just this one. Like, why? It's fine. It's not a big deal. It's just 2 per side because this is it. This is what's holding everything together. It wraps around, which is cool. It's not necessarily, you know, you're not gaining any utilitarian benefit from that. It's just a neat idea instead of the same thing that we see all the time, which is just a simple, you know, sandwich style backspacer. So there's 2 T6 screws on each side required for disassembly. Then you got this thing back here, which is, I like it because it's holding the pocket clip in a way that, you know, it's an ambi clip mounting design without having to mill out a slot to mount the pocket clip. Sometimes that takes away from the design aesthetically. This is a nice way to do that, but you just use a little tiny wrench or something, or teeny tiny little socket head and turn that. There's a million ways to do it. It's fine. It's a good way to do that. I'm glad that they found a way to make sure that lefties could enjoy this, but really not a lot involved with the disassembly process. I can't complain too much. It's just weird that they decided to use T6. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness here real quick. Blade stock thickness on the Sentinel Strike coming in at 114 thousandths, so definitely on the thinner side. That's pretty normal for Civivi. What else here? We weighed it, we measured it, we did all that stuff. I think it's time to get into the meat and potatoes. So Civivi has, you know, this almost looks like a Ferrum Forge design, but it doesn't have the logo on it. So I think it's just in the same, it's got to be in the same in-house family as the other two. I like how it looks. And on top of that, you know, we have a very classic handle profile. In fact, the handle profile I don't think is any different, or if it is, it's hardly different. Let's look at all 3 handle profiles here, just to see. These are all essentially the same handle profile. You know, there's a little bit of difference here, but you know, they work. They're ergonomic. It's a classic handle profile, and you know, not only is Civivi welcome to copy we because they're the same company. Anybody is welcome to use this handle profile without, you know, there shouldn't be a risk of anybody say copy because it's like the most widely used handle profile ever. But it works. That's why they use it. It's comfortable. They had an opportunity here because they did a different clip. But they're like, you know what? We definitely still need that bill there. We definitely have to have that. We need to put that bill on there so that when people walk by things, you know, that stick out, the pocket clip can grab it and bend itself out. Civivi, get rid of this bill. It sounds like such a silly thing to complain about, but it really is grabby. These types of clips will bend out, and it's very annoying. But the clip is the same sort of, it's a minor hotspot, you know, it's really overall the clip is fine. It's just crazy that they insist on that bill. But yeah, you can feel it a little bit. This is a super roomy forward choil, and it's how I would prefer. I mean, the vast majority of people have anywhere from the same size hands as mine to smaller, right? Some people are going to have larger hands and larger fingers than mine, and even they will have extra room to get their second knuckle in there. That's a great way to do that. And the jimping complements that index finger position nicely. This is a really comfortable knife, not only to manipulate, but to hold on to in a variety of different, well, I say a variety. I mean, you can hold it like this, you can hold it like this, right? You can choke up on it, right? So I guess, okay, that's enough. You can say variety. It's very comfortable in a wide variety of different grips. And it's familiar and it's second nature. I mean, this is the type of knife that we've all, like, you can look at this and go, I will be able to manipulate that perfectly, master level 100 right out of the box, and you're exactly right. Civivi's got this formula nailed down, and this is another example of this being executed very well. It feels really, really good. I'm glad that they decided to do their tumbled finish on at least one of the options. You have multiple options, as is usually the case with Civivi knives. I think the best looking one that they do is the red aluminum. They do a black washed blade, red aluminum, and the black wraparound spacer, or the wraparound, integral back jacket, whatever you want to call this. What do they call it? They call it a jacket? I don't know. A handle jacket, right? I mean, we can make up a term. We can say whatever we want unless they've already told us what it is. I didn't read it in the description of the Blade HQ post that I was looking at. Yeah, I think that one looks the coolest, but this one also looks really, really good. I think the blade profile looks good. We have, a Warren Cliffy something or other, some modified this or that, right? The Blade Shape Police will come and tell us what we're supposed to call it, but it's some variation of triangle with a sharpened portion down here at the apex, and it'll work, right? Your draw cuts, especially because of the dropped tip here, that'll be really easy. Sharpening is just one continuous edge. You definitely have a nice fine tip. D2 is other steels that are similar in nature. I guess you could say that it's kind of tough. It's not going to be like M4 or 3V or some of those ultra mega like 1095. It's not going to be like that, right? But it'll hold an edge, and I think the final edge geometry is plenty thin. So this is going to do what it was designed to do, which is not baton or pry things away from other things. It's designed to cut and cut continuously, and it will do that. The edge of the spine here is knocked down, so no sharp edges up here where we don't really need them unless you're, trying to make sparks and start a fire, which not many people are doing it with knives like this, so I don't think people really care all that much. The inside of this hole here is also knocked down. All typical Civivi things, all things that Civivi does really, really well. The Capsule Corp logo, the Civivi logo is in its usual place, and that's fine. I actually prefer that. Instead of it being on the blade, Civivi does a really good job of not putting a bunch of crap and paragraphs and freaking short stories and haikus all over the freaking blade. Microtech. Oh, man, sorry. It's weird involuntary noises that come out of my face when I'm remembering irritating things in my subconscious. This is really, they just decided to make a little design here. Same with the little holes right here. What are they for? So when you drop it in the water and pick it up, it can drain? No, they're just little holes, right? For the same reason that the Exiton has little holes here. I don't know. It has holes on the back too, and okay. This one does. What is this one? This one has nothing, right? I kind of prefer this look. I think this looks the best, but okay. There's holes here and a little fuller. That's fine. No big deal. There's a lanyard hole. Yay. Lanyard people. Yay. You can put a lanyard on it. In and out of the pocket is fine. This clip works. It's just got an annoying bill on it. But I think the clip, the carry depth is good. Obviously, it's going to go about as deep as it can go. You have a little tiny glass breaker right here, which matters to almost nobody. But if you regularly find yourself breaking glass or just feel like you really need it for some reason, it's there, right? For the rest, for the other, how many people we have on this planet now? 8 billion? For the other, 7,999,999,999 people on the planet, you don't ever have to think about it, right? I know. Sometimes glass breakers come in handy, and you're going to be glad you had it. You're going to be glad you had it if you find yourself in a car submerging into the ocean, right? Because you drove into the ocean? I don't know. Whatever, right? Then yeah, you can get out. Great. Anyways, we have a little bit of shouldering right here, wrapping around that backspacer, which is in its traditional spot. No blade play up, down, left, or right. This does run on bearings, by the way. no stick off the button, and no plunge drag. What is plunge drag? It's when you push the button down too hard and the blade drags. So it doesn't look like it's present on this guy, which is good. Even if it is, apparently it works itself out. I had one, another Civivi where it just worked itself out, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. No pivot lash, nice and consistent in here. And, you know, for it being a plunge lock, which is acting as the detent, it's actually pretty clicky, pretty satisfying, right? And we got perfect centering. This is really cool. I was really excited about this one. I was like, this is nice. You know, it's not anything like, oh my gosh, it's the newest, greatest thing. Nobody's ever seen anything like it before. No, it's just in the same family as the other, you know, jacket backspacer knives that we did. And it's nice that they offer this for substantially less money. How much money? $85, which is a little irritating. It's not a bad price. It's just an irritating price because they used K110 on it. Fine. You know, if you use D2, could the price come down $30 or $20? You know, it's the same thing, right? I mean, honestly, it should, at $85, I think I would have preferred 14C 28N or 154CM or something like that. But really, it's just hard because people are telling me, like, you should adjust your maximum line for a budget knife, which on this channel is $75. They said you should adjust it to, you know, account for inflation. And my answer to that is no, because then we're just giving companies excuses to, you know, companies like Civivi, who should, in my opinion, always be under $75. Save the more expensive stuff for Wii knives. I'm not saying that my idea of a budget knife should control what everything that Civivi does. I guess I kind of am. I don't know. I'm not going to adjust that line because I don't want to give any companies an excuse. Not that Civivi cares. It's not that they're manufacturing knives like, oh, we got to make it under this hard line that Metal Complex has, you know, laid out for everybody. No. But it makes me, this is the type of knife that I want to see under $75, right? And if the reason it's over $75 is because they chose to use K110, that's kind of irritating, right? On top of that, I don't really feel like even with it being K110, it doesn't really have any business being $85, right? This feels more like a $65 to $70 pocket knife, and that's really where I feel like it should be. So again, the price isn't like, oh my gosh, you know, why don't you just break a freaking 2x4 over my head? It's not like that. It's just kind of an annoying price tag. It's all right, and I think a lot of people will pick it up anyway just because, because here's the thing. It is a well-designed pocket knife, and it is cool, and it's a little bit different, and it has the elements of these other knives that I really, really like. It has that element, that backspacer there. It just doesn't have quite as much detail, and if you're wondering, does it have the same flipping action? Because these two have this sort of weird, mysterious, like magic dust that we apparently reserved for just these two knives. Does it feel the same in terms of action? No, it's not the same. There is something weird and magical about these two. I don't know what it is that they did, right? I mean, these are titanium, but it can't just be that. These are spectacular. This is pretty good. It's about what you'd expect there, but it doesn't have the same secret sauce. Whatever it is that we, you know, pumped into those other two or injected them with, it doesn't have that same sauce, and it doesn't feel like the same. It's not a perfect translation to a budget knife, but it's good. It's okay, right? I wanted to be really blown away by this, and I was slightly disappointed, but that doesn't mean that it's not a good knife. If you pick this up, I think you'll like it, and it'll definitely make a good tool, right? That's really all I can say. I mean, there's nothing more, right? I'm holding Civivi and Wii to a pretty high standard these days, so something like this that is good, it's just kind of, it's okay, you know, for a company that I, you know, really expect some pretty great things from. So yeah, that's going to be it today, guys. Fun knife, neat knife, didn't blow me away. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.